Seated at my desk, I checked my watch. It was almost 4. Soon I'd head home to kick off the weekend. This one was extra special, marking 20 years since I married Katie. I couldn't wait to whisk her away for a romantic weekend at our lake house. I picked up Katie's photo, a cherished gift from years ago, reminding me of our love. By the way, I'm Thomas West, but you can call me Tom. Katie and I fell in love in high school and tied the knot shortly after graduation. She insisted on waiting until our wedding day for closeness. And she was right. It made our honeymoon unforgettable. My parents were thrilled for us, giving me $100,000 and keys to a townhouse to start. Dad explained it was just the beginning of a $5 million trust fund he set up after my birth. He rarely spoke of my biological mom, who passed when I was young, remarrying soon after. Rejected from the military due to diabetes, I pursued college with Katie. We dreamed of our futures until Jim, our son, arrived earlier than planned. Despite challenges, Katie became a teacher while I entered the business world, joining Ryder Industries. When I shared the news with Dad, he seemed proud but distant. I sensed something was amiss, but I refrained from pressing him. That's why I ultimately left the corporate world behind. For the next 16 years, life followed a typical routine. We worked, cared for our family, and enjoyed annual vacations. Due to time constraints, I quit martial arts classes about 5 years into marriage. Though Dad suggested exploring career options, I didn't dwell on it. Overall, Katie and I were content, despite the usual marital ups and downs. However, recently, I noticed changes in Katie's behavior. Initially, I attributed her mood shifts to the end of the school year and her reduced workload. She seemed withdrawn and occasionally sharp with me. I tried discussing it, but she brushed it off. Meanwhile, I was in the running for a VP position competing with Alex Marlowe. Keeping the news to myself, I didn't think it influenced her behavior. Then it hit me. Our son Jim's graduation and acceptance to West Point might be causing her anxiety about an empty nest. To lift her spirits, I planned a surprise anniversary getaway. As I pondered this, my secretary's call interrupted. It was about a meeting with Jake Henderson, the CEO, likely regarding a promotion. I rose from my desk, tidied my tie in the bathroom mirror, and headed to the elevator, ensuring my smartphone was set to record the upcoming meeting. Arriving on the 15th floor, home to the company's top brass, I made my way to Henderson's suite, where his assistant, Brenda, welcomed me. "Mr. Henderson is ready for you, Mr. West," she said, her grin piquing my curiosity. Henderson's voice invited me inside as I entered his office, taking a seat opposite him. Harvey, one of Henderson's guards, poured me bourbon, a gesture of familiarity with my preferences. Henderson, relaxed in demeanor, took a sip of his drink before addressing me with a smile. After exchanging pleasantries, Henderson praised my politeness and inquired about my family. I assured him all was well, mentioning our son's recent departure for West Point and our upcoming 20th anniversary celebration. "Married for 2 decades?" Jake inquired, offering congratulations. "I called you here not to mess with you. I like you. Let's discuss my upcoming promotion. It's between you and Marlowe. The board needs to gauge your flexibility, your response to stress, and your dedication to our goals. Understand, a manager's day doesn't end at 5. "I get it," I replied. "What specifics does the board seek?" "They want to witness your reactions firsthand," Jake explained. "They've reviewed your records, but they need more." "I'm not sure I follow," I admitted. Jake grinned, sipping his bourbon. "You'll get it," he assured. "How's your marriage?" "Solid, Mr. Henderson," I affirmed, sipping my drink. "Why do you ask?" "If it's as strong as you claim, cancel your weekend plans," he instructed. "Your wife should understand." He signaled Harvey, who ushered in Lenny Jameson, accompanied by Katie. She wore a revealing dress, surprising me with her appearance. The dress barely covered her backside. Though she glanced my way, she seemed unaware of me. Observing her medicated state, I noticed something white in one nostril. "Katie," I addressed her. "What's going on? Why are you dressed like that?" She remained unresponsive, her eyes glazed. Turning to Henderson, I demanded clarification. "What's happening? Why is she here like this? She's clearly medicated. What did you give her?" Henderson chuckled, admitting to medicating her with a potent concoction. He gestured for Lenny to expose her further, revealing her bosom. I attempted to rise, but found myself paralyzed, realizing Harvey had medicated me too. Henderson's sinister grin widened as Lenny undressed Katie completely. Ignoring my protests, Henderson proceeded to engage in carnal acts with her, her glazed eyes betraying her medicated state. Furious and struggling against Harvey's grip, I glared at Henderson. "I'll eliminate you," I yelled. Henderson smirked. Is that how you speak to family? He taunted. And in front of your dear wife. She won't be my wife, I snapped. And what do you mean by family? Henderson revealed our shared parentage, shocking me. That's not true, I protested. Why? For many reasons, he explained. Firstly, as CEO, I have executive privilege. Secondly, I've always wanted to dominate my younger brother. You didn't think I hired you for your skills, did you? He revealed his calculated manipulation, claiming it was a long-term plan to reclaim what he believed was rightfully his. Have you planned this all along? I demanded. Of course, he admitted. It's the long game. Now your fate and your wife's are in my hands. He outlined his intention to seek revenge for past grievances, shocking me with his twisted motives. You're sick, I accused. Henderson shrugged. Maybe, he conceded. It is what it is. Here's the plan, Tom, he began. No divorce. Your wife now serves me, financially and personally. She's my exclusive companion, accessible anytime, anywhere. I'm whisking her to New York for a board presentation. Relax. She'll return, albeit perhaps disheveled. You won't get away with this, I retorted. He chuckled. Done deal, he countered. You're powerless. He signaled Lenny, who struck me, apologizing. Just business, Mr. West. I awoke in a hospital bed, machines humming around me. Dad, exhausted, sat nearby. A nurse tended to me, offering ice. Dad explained I'd been unconscious 4 days since Friday night. 4 days? I echoed. It's Tuesday, Dad confirmed. You were dumped at the ER. What happened? He asked, concern etched on his face. Later, upon the doctor's arrival, I acknowledged him. Good afternoon, Mr. West. I'm Dr. Pierce, he greeted. I'm glad to see you with us again. How do you feel? It's like I was hit by a truck, I replied. Everything hurts. I have no doubt, he concurred, noting my injuries. You've been pretty banged up. Nothing broken but some bruised ribs and a small bruise. We were worried about a concussion. After his examination, he outlined the plan. We'll do x-rays and keep you overnight for observation. If all goes well, you can go home tomorrow. My dad called the police, I mentioned. They want to speak with you, he informed me. Afterward, Detective Blackstone introduced himself, eager to hear my story. I recounted what I could, then remembered my phone. Did you find my phone? I asked my father. Yes, he said, handing it over. I noticed unfamiliar text messages and decided to check them later. I found the audio recording and played it for the detective, capturing everything, including the sounds of the assault. I focused on what occurred afterward. Okay, get him out of here, Henderson ordered the guards. Take him to the hospital and say you found him there. Got it? Got it, boss, Lenny affirmed. We heard movement as they dragged me, then their conversation as they placed me in the car. Careful, Harvey cautioned. I don't want blood on the seats. He's a real pain, Lenny chuckled. Aren't they all? Harvey laughed before the recording ended. We have hospital security footage, Ryan explained. They threw you out of the car before driving off. EMTs found you and brought you inside. The car is registered to Ryder Industries. I informed HR, Dad added. Henderson already put you on sick leave for a week. Any word from Katie? I inquired. Dad shook his head. None, he replied. I've been trying to reach her, but no luck. We'll issue a bulletin, Ryan declared. Do you have a recent photo? Yes, I confirmed, retrieving my pictures. Okay, he agreed. Send this to me along with the audio recording. I'll forward the photo to the NYPD and issue a warrant for Henderson and his thugs. Do you want to press charges? Absolutely, I affirmed. Definitely. Then we'll proceed, he assured. Just relax and let the professionals handle it, he advised. Okay, detective, I acknowledged gratefully. Thank you. We'll keep in touch, Ryan promised, handing me his card. Call if you remember anything else. After he left, I turned to my father. Is what Henderson said true? I inquired. Yes and no, he replied. His father had his way with your biological mother, but she was already pregnant. After that, I filed for divorce and an alienation of affection lawsuit against Henderson. We couldn't do a DNA test back then, but we all have the same blood type. Dad said he wouldn't bore me with all the details, but things at home worsened. My biological mother turned to drinks and medicates, eventually dying from an overdose 6 months after I was born. Damn, I reacted. The lawsuit against Henderson and Ryder was ongoing, Dad revealed. But we settled out of court, using the money to set up your trust fund. I couldn't disclose any details due to the agreement. About a year later, I met Patricia, Dad continued. She loved you from the start, insisting on adopting you after we got married. Unable to have children, she considered you her own. So how did you know I was really your son? I asked. Remember the motorcycle accident when you were 16? He queried. Yeah, I recalled. Well, he elaborated, after I was injured, I requested a DNA test at the hospital to confirm our relationship. And? I pressed. The results showed over a 99% likelihood that I'm your father, he explained. It means your biological mother was pregnant with you before Henderson's involvement. For me, you're my dad no matter what, I assured him, bringing a smile to his face. What happened to Henderson? I inquired. Dad informed me he died from a stroke around the time I entered college. His son stepped up as the new general director. I had hoped the younger Henderson had learned from his father's mistakes, but I was mistaken, Dad explained. That's why you weren't thrilled about me joining there, right? I questioned. He nodded. Yes, he affirmed. I wished to tell you, but couldn't. I pray I have it now. It's not on you, Dad, I reassured. I can't fathom how Katie could fall for his nonsense after all this time. It's baffling, I remarked. She may have been medicated, but something feels off, I pondered. Why was she there and in that attire? Just then a knock sounded at the door. Yes, I called out. Brenda, our assistant, peeked in. May I come in? She asked timidly. Certainly, Brenda, I welcomed her. What's up? She entered, holding a vase of flowers and a large card. We all pitched in and got this for you, she explained, placing the flowers on the nightstand. She handed me the card. I'm really sorry about all of this, Brenda expressed. Did you know what Henderson planned? I inquired. I knew he had something with your wife, she admitted. But not this, she added, pointing to me. What went down? I probed. That morning he gave me a company card, told me to fetch your wife, said she was expecting me. He instructed me to take her out, get her a revealing dress, and then to a salon, Brenda disclosed. He also insisted that she get a bikini wax. Aria completed a Brazilian wax, Brenda recounted. I had a pretty good idea of what he meant. This isn't the first time he's pulled something like this. So your boss is using you to groom his girls? Dad questioned. Brenda's face flushed red, and she wisely averted her gaze. Did you know he medicated her? Dad pressed. He medicates all the women he sleeps with, Mr. West, she admitted. He loves to experiment. Has he ever medicated you? Dad inquired. She nodded. One time, she disclosed. He gave me just a small amount, she continued. Said it was only a quarter of the normal dose. Kept me going for about an hour. Do you know how much he gave my wife? I interjected. She shook her head. No, I don't, she admitted. He mentioned giving Katie 3 times the usual amount, I informed her. Her eyes widened, and she covered her face with her hands. Oh my God, she exclaimed. I had no clue. Your poor wife must have been out of her mind for hours. I bet she didn't even realize you were there. This stuff really messes you up. When I walked into your office, you knew what was going to happen, didn't you? I probed. She nodded solemnly. I knew, she confirmed. But I didn't expect him to be so cruel to you, honestly. Do you know where Henderson and my wife are now? I asked. Last I heard, they're still in New York, she replied. Would you be willing to talk to the police, Dad? I asked. I'll do whatever I can to help, she promised. She glanced back at me with tears in her eyes. I'm truly sorry about this, Mr. West. Just one more thing, Brenda, I added. What's going on? She inquired. Did my wife have any idea what was going to happen? I questioned. She nodded. I'm pretty sure she had an idea, Mr. West, she replied. I know Mr. Henderson has been in touch with her quite often in the past month or so, inviting her out to dinner multiple times. They've had long lunches. I'm not sure if anything happened between them or not. He never disclosed it to me. But do you think they were involved? I pressed. It's highly probable, but I can't say for certain. I'm not privy to all the details, she admitted. You seem to assist Henderson with things like this frequently, correct? Dad inquired. Quite frequently, she admitted quietly. So you condone his behavior? He probed. She shook her head. You misunderstand, she clarified. I'm a single mother with a child who has special needs, and Mr. Henderson compensates me generously for my assistance and my discretion. Well, your silence is what led to my son ending up in the hospital this time, young lady, he retorted, his patience waning. She took a step back as he glared at her. Mr. West, I truly didn't know they intended injury to your son. I would have warned him if I had known, she defended herself. Dad reclined in his chair, silently observing her. Brenda, the police detective will be reaching out to you regarding this matter, I informed her. I advise you to be available and fully cooperate. Understand?" She nodded. "I understand, Mr. West," she affirmed. "All right," I said, "and please convey my gratitude to everyone for the flowers and card." "I will," she promised, dabbing at a tear in her eye. "Once again, I'm sorry." With that, she turned and exited the room. After the door closed, I turned to my father. "That sheds some light on things," I remarked. "Katie has been acting a bit off since school ended. Initially, I thought it was because Jim had gone to West Point. We'll uncover the truth," he assured. Another knock sounded, and a hospital attendant wheeled in a food cart. Dad grinned and rose. "Dinner time," he announced. "Better head home before Mom sends out a search party," he joked. "Take care, son. Rest up. See you in the morning." "Thanks, Dad," I replied. "Say hi to Mom for me and tell her I love her." "Will do, son," he affirmed. "And hey, love you too." We fist-bumped, and he exited. The attendant smirked at Dad's departure, then served my meal. It smelled decent, and hunger gnawed at me after days without eating. I devoured the meatloaf and potatoes, relishing the mushroom sauce. Though not up to Mom's or Katie's caliber, it sufficed. Even the broccoli, which I usually avoid, tasted all right. After finishing dessert, I sipped coffee and checked my texts. 4 messages awaited, each with a video. The first, from Friday, read, "Enjoy. Bet you wish you weren't here." Unfamiliar, I hesitantly opened it. Katie stood before grinning men, her dress akin to the one Henderson forced her to wear. Recognizing the board members, I braced for the worst. They stripped her and she complied. Anguish brewed. It'd bolster the lawsuit. Summoning courage for the next message from Saturday morning, regret filled me as Katie frolicked with men. The third, late Saturday, depicted her with multiple partners. The fourth, from early Sunday, diverged. Katie and Henderson stared into the camera. Her bloodshot eyes and dark circles revealed torment. Henderson sneered. "This is your wife's new life," he taunted. Turning to Katie, he commanded, "Tell him who I am, honey." "Jake Henderson is my master," she stated, her voice devoid of any emotion. "That's correct," he confirmed. "And what's your new role?" Henderson inquired. "I am my master's undressed love-making toy," she declared. "I engage in carnal activities with whomever he commands, whenever he commands, and however he commands, as frequently as he commands." "Very well," Jake acknowledged. "And convey to that idiot that he won't ever touch you again, you betrayed man," Katie asserted, pointing a finger at the camera. "You'll never lay a hand on me again." Henderson chuckled at her remark before addressing the camera. "And remember, don't cause trouble, or the next time I have Harvey and Lenny talk to you, you might not wake up. See you later, loser. Goodbye." The video concluded. A surge of emotions washed over me. Hatred, anger, sadness, disappointment. I couldn't believe what I had just witnessed and heard. It seemed evident that he had manipulated her. I glanced at the wedding ring on my finger. It held no significance anymore, so I removed it and tossed it onto the nightstand. Perhaps I could sell it for a few bucks at a pawn shop. At that instant, I was resolved to divorce Katie. I didn't care if Jake approved or not. Furthermore, I was determined to make him suffer. But how? Alienation of affection? Lawsuits were a possibility when my father divorced, but not anymore. I entertained thoughts of damaging that despicable fool, but in all honesty, he wasn't worth jeopardizing my freedom for. I contacted Ryan and briefed him on the videos and Henderson's threats. He requested that I forward them to him and assured me he'd be in touch. Following his instructions, I powered off my phone. I contemplated reaching out to Kathy, but concluded it would be futile. I placed my phone on the nightstand and turned on the TV, hoping to distract myself from what I had just witnessed. Eventually, I drifted off to sleep and found myself dreaming of happier times when I had a loving and faithful wife. The next morning, I awoke to the sounds of nurses bustling about my room, checking my vital signs and monitoring the equipment. 2 of them escorted me to the radiology department for additional x-rays before returning me to my room. Once back, an orderly brought me breakfast. Shortly after I finished my bacon and egg breakfast, Dr. Pierce entered my room with good news. "Everything went smoothly, and you're clear to go home," he informed me. He prescribed medication for the pain and provided a set of instructions. "Discharge paperwork will take about an hour, so why not give your parents a call to come pick you up," he suggested. "By the time they arrive, you should be ready to go. Take care of yourself and make sure to schedule a follow-up appointment with your regular doctor within a week." "Thank you, Doc," I replied. "I'll do that." After he left, I contacted my parents and shared the positive news. About an hour later, they arrived at my room. Mom enveloped me in a hug, tears shimmering in her eyes. "Oh, Tom, I'm so sorry you had to go through this," she expressed. "How are you feeling?" "Could be better, Mom," I admitted. "Well, I whipped up some of my lasagna for you and kept it warm in the oven," she informed me. I always adored my mother's lasagna. It was rich with layers of cheese, mushrooms, and meat filling, a taste sensation unlike any other. I looked at her with gratitude. "Thank you, Mom," I said sincerely. "Your lasagna never fails to brighten my day." "I'm glad, son," she replied. "Your father filled me in on what happened, and I'm furious. I have half a mind to give that woman a piece of my mind." Dad and I exchanged a knowing glance and chuckled. There was no doubt in my mind that if she were here, Mom would have taken Katie to task. "Any updates?" Dad inquired. I briefed him on the videos and Henderson's threat. "Videos?" Mom questioned. "Trust me, Mom, you don't want to see them," I cautioned. "They're beyond awful." "I guess you'll need the name of a good divorce attorney," Dad remarked. "Yeah," I agreed. "There's no way to overlook what she did or is probably still doing. Plus, I need to break it to Jim. It's going to devastate him." "All right, I'll make some calls," Dad promised. Just then, a nurse entered with my discharge papers and instructions. Insisting I use a wheelchair, she wheeled me out while Mom and Dad walked alongside. At the loading dock, I slid into the back seat. Dad drove us home, stopping at a pharmacy so I could pick up my pain medication. I noticed my car parked in the driveway when we arrived. "Your mom and I retrieved your car from Ryder on Saturday," Dad informed me. "Katie's car is still in the garage." We entered the house, and its emptiness without Katie became painfully apparent. The aroma of lasagna wafting from the oven lifted my spirits a tad. "I hope you don't mind, but I tidied up a bit yesterday afternoon," Mom mentioned. "It was getting a bit stuffy." "Not at all, Mom," I assured her. "Thanks for everything." Just then, we spotted a dark sedan parked outside. I recognized Ryan stepping out of the driver's side, accompanied by another man in a suit. I welcomed them in. "Detective Blackstone," I greeted. "Please, come in." I held the door as they entered. Ryan shook my hand, and I introduced him to Mom. "Can we offer you gentlemen something to drink?" Mom offered. "Coffee? Soda?" Ryan declined. "No, ma'am, but thank you," he replied, then turned to the other man. "Mr. West, this is Detective Hawthorne from the NYPD Homicide Department." I was taken aback momentarily, but extended my hand to Hawthorne. "Please, have a seat," I invited, and we settled in. "Homicide?" I echoed. Hawthorne nodded, presenting a photograph. Katie's face was recognizable, but she appeared lifeless, her complexion unsettling. "Can you confirm the identity of the woman in this photo?" Hawthorne inquired. "That looks like my wife, Kathy," I confirmed. "But she was alive early Sunday morning. I have a video." "Did she have any distinguishing marks or tattoos?" Hawthorne probed. "Yes, a small dolphin tattoo on her upper right thigh," I recalled. "She got it on a dare 15 years ago." Hawthorne glanced at Ryan and then back at me, his expression somber. "I regret to inform you, Mr. West, but it appears that your wife may have been homicide," he stated. "Homicide?" I exclaimed. "How? When?" "That's what we're investigating, Mr. West," Hawthorne replied. "The coroner is still examining her, but the initial assessment suggests she died from a massive heart attack." "But wouldn't that rule out slaying?" I questioned. "Well, her body was discovered in a shallow grave in Central Park yesterday afternoon," Hawthorne disclosed. "In my experience, such findings typically indicate foul play. We're awaiting toxicology results, which may provide more insight." "What more can you tell us?" I recounted the entire ordeal to them. Ryan took notes while listening attentively, though he had heard the details before. Retrieving my phone, I played the audio recording and then the video for them. Mom, overwhelmed, burst into tears, and Dad ushered her out of the room, leaving me alone with the detectives. After they finished viewing the footage, I shared Brenda's account. They made notes and exchanged glances before addressing me. "This clarifies the bruises and condition of Mrs. West's body," Hawthorne remarked. Turning to me, he continued, "This woman, Harris, is she on duty today?" "To my knowledge, yes," I replied. "We'll need to speak with her," Hawthorne directed at Ryan, who nodded in agreement. He then turned to me again. "What do you know about the Medicades Henderson mentioned?" "The super ecstasy?" he inquired. "Not much beyond what Brenda told me and what I experienced," I admitted. "The doctor mentioned that the substance they used on me had already left my system." "And Henderson and his associates? Any insights there?" Ryan pressed. "Henderson's private jet departed from New York last night. According to the pilot's filed flight plan, they were returning here, but there's no record of the plane landing," I explained. "Ryder has branches nationwide. He could be anywhere." "Excellent," Hawthorne remarked, turning to Ryan. We'll need to involve the FAA and possibly the FBI. I have a contact at the local FAA office, Ryan offered. We can head there after executing a search warrant on Ryder. Hawthorne nodded in agreement. What's the next step? I inquired. If your accounts are accurate, this could escalate into a federal case since Henderson transported your wife across state lines, Ryan stated. We're considering multiple charges against him, including slaying and potentially kidnapping. In the meantime, Hawthorne added, my team will continue their investigation and recover your wife's body. This process may take several days. We'll also detain the individuals seen in the video for questioning. I nodded in acknowledgement. Ryan glanced at Hawthorne before addressing me. I'd like to speak with Mr. West privately, if you don't mind, he requested. Hawthorne nodded at me. Of course, I'll step out to make a few calls. I'll be just outside, he said before exiting the room. He glanced at me before proceeding. I sincerely apologize for all of this, Mr. West, he conveyed. Thank you, Detective, I responded, shaking his hand. After he departed, Ryan redirected his attention to me. Mr. West, Tom, he began. I wanted to have a private conversation with you regarding what transpired with your wife. I appreciate that, Ryan, I acknowledged. I'll spare you the graphic details, Ryan began. But based on what I've gathered, your wife's final 48 hours were utterly harrowing. I consulted with a medical examiner back east, and he corroborated my suspicions. I don't believe your wife consented to what was done to her. I suspect she was subjected to a brutal assault. She was sufferized and exploited by a group of power-hungry individuals. Look, Ryan, I understand your intentions, and I'm grateful, I responded. I truly do. But the reality is Katie and Henderson were involved for about a month before this incident. I'm not entirely sure what transpired between them, but I have a fairly good idea. Katie could have put an end to all of this prior to last Friday, but she chose not to. I don't understand her actions, and now I never will. I understand, Ryan murmured. He retrieved a business card from his pocket and handed it to me. I suggest you consult with Dr. Harmon. She's highly reputable. Give her a call. All right, I'll do that. Thank you, I acknowledged. I'm concerned that Henderson's associates might return for you, he expressed. I would assign officers to protect you, but unfortunately, our resources are limited. However, I'll instruct the dispatcher to increase patrols in your area. Do you own a firearm? No, I replied. He nodded. All right, he stated. In that case, always keep your doors and windows secured. If you suspect anything, dial emergency immediately. I'll remember that, Ryan, I assured him. Just then, Hawthorne re-entered the house. I just spoke with your partner, Johnson, he informed. He's wanted nationwide, and we have search warrants ready to execute. Ryan nodded and stood up. We'll keep in touch, Tom, he said, shaking my hand. Hawthorne extended his hand. I offer my condolences for your loss, Mr. West, he conveyed. Thank you, Detective, I replied. After they departed, my parents returned and took a seat. Are you going to be all right, son? Dad inquired. I think so, Dad, I replied. I have a couple more calls to make, and I'm not particularly looking forward to them. In many ways, that's true. I needed to inform Jim about his mother's situation, and I also had to reach out to Katie's parents. Understood? Dad asked. Understood. If you need anything, just give us a call, all right? Dad reiterated. I'll do that, Dad. Thanks, I affirmed. We exchanged embraces, and I watched them depart. I dialed Jim's cell phone and left a message, anticipating it might take some time for him to return my call. The next call on my agenda was one I dreaded. Kathy's father, retired Marine Colonel Bill Anderson, earned the moniker Bloody Bill for his heroic exploits in Afghanistan, allegedly dispatching multiple Taliban fighters with just a knife. His uniform boasted more ribbons and medals than I'd ever seen. He and Katie's mother, Alice, settled in the country after his military service. I hesitated to break the news of Katie's pass away to the colonel, but we had a good rapport, and he insisted I call him Dad. Summoning courage, I called him. Anderson's residence, he answered. It's me, Tom, I said. Are you okay? He asked, sensing my distress. Not really, Dad, I replied. Katie's dead. Shocked, he demanded details. After a brief explanation, he decided they'd visit at 4 p.m., adding a quip about civilian time. Got it, Dad, I chuckled, and I'll have coffee ready. With that, we hung up, and I sank into my chair, overwhelmed by grief. My world had crumbled, my marriage had faltered, and now Katie, the love of my life, was gone. Despite my disdain for her actions, I couldn't bear the thought of her pass away, unlike Henderson, who I viewed differently. I rose and indulged in my mom's comforting lasagna, a remedy that had always eased my troubles. Cleaning up afterward, I roamed the house, each corner triggering memories of Katie and our life together. Realizing I couldn't remain in this house, I resolved to sell it once everything settled, opting for something smaller. Discovering Katie's phone on the nightstand, I unlocked it with her familiar 4-digit code. Annoyingly, it happened at that moment. Examining her call log, I noticed repeated calls from Henderson and Brenda's workplace, particularly on Friday morning. Scanning her messages, I found an exchange with Henderson from a few months back, lacking significant context. Perusing her emails, I found nothing incriminating. Turning off the phone, I placed it back on the nightstand. Checking the time, I realized it was already 3:45 p.m. I had no clue how much time I had spent on Katie's phone. Knowing the Colonel's punctuality, I headed to the kitchen and brewed fresh coffee, strong, just the way he preferred it. As the digital clock on the coffee pot struck 4 p.m., the doorbell chimed. I knew it was the Colonel, so I welcomed him and Alice inside. "Damn it, son, didn't anyone ever teach you to duck?" the Colonel exclaimed upon seeing my face. "My father tried, but I don't think I ever fully grasped it," I half-joked. "Come in." As they entered, another car pulled into the driveway. I observed a tall, lanky man stepping out and approaching the door. "I hope you don't mind," Bill mentioned. "After what you told me, I took the liberty of calling for reinforcements." By then, the tall man had entered the house carrying a laptop bag and 2 more bags, leaving me wondering what was happening. Bill introduced him. "Ron, this is my brother-in-law, Tom West," he said. "Tom, meet Ron Wiseman. We served together in the Corps." "Pleasure to meet you, Mr. Wiseman," I greeted, shaking his hand. "Please call me Ron," he insisted. I glanced at the Colonel. "Ron and his wife have experience dealing with individuals like Henderson," the Colonel explained. "Plus, he possesses certain skills that could prove valuable." "What kind of skills?" I inquired. "I'm an accountant by profession," Ron disclosed. "An accountant?" I echoed. Ron grinned as he set his bags down. "Well, I'm a bit more than just that," he elaborated. "I'm involved with a special task force and have access to information that, as the Colonel mentioned, could be quite useful." "I see," I responded. "Well, please have a seat and I'll fetch us some coffee." Alice joined me in the kitchen and we returned with 4 large cups of coffee, hot, fresh, black, and strong, just how the Colonel preferred it. Alice handed him his cup, and after a cautious sip, he remarked, "Not bad, Tom." "Thank you. Now why don't you bring us all up to speed?" I recounted the events up until Ryan and Hawthorne left the house earlier. "You mentioned video recordings?" the Colonel inquired. "Yes," I confirmed. "They're quite disturbing." "I'd still like to see them," he insisted. "Don't worry, after 30 years in the Corps, there's not much that Alice and I haven't seen." I retrieved my phone and played the videos for them. They watched all 4 before I returned the phone. Bill and Alice seemed visibly upset, but Ron remained composed, pausing this video at times to scrutinize the individuals involved. "It's evident she was medicated," Alice remarked. Bill and Ron nodded in agreement. "But with what exactly? I'm not certain," I admitted. "Brenda Henderson's assistant mentioned something about super ecstasy or the like." "And Henderson medicated you too?" Ron inquired. "Yes," I confirmed. "But by the time I was treated at the hospital, it had already left my system." By then, Ron had set up his laptop and connected to the internet. "Those 2 thugs who attacked you?" he continued. "Did you catch them on video?" Ron inquired. "Yes," I replied. I opened one of the videos and paused it so Ron could examine it closely. "Those 2 big guys over there are Harvey Strauss and Lenny Jameson," I pointed out, indicating them in the footage. "Can you send me these videos?" Ron requested, providing his email address. "Certainly," I agreed. "I'll forward the videos to you." Ron confirmed receipt of the files and began analyzing them. "You know those aren't their real names," Ron remarked. "No, I wasn't aware," I admitted. "What are their real identities?" "They're former criminals," Ron disclosed. "They disappeared after their boss, James Brolin, also known as Jimmy the Weasel, was discovered homicide in his own bed. The authorities have been searching for them for quite some time." "How long have they been working for Henderson?" "I believe it's been a couple of years now," I replied. "Why do you ask?" "They've vanished around this time," Ron noted. "Are you suggesting they've made Henderson a wanted man across the nation?" "Exactly," I confirmed. "All right," Ron said, clicking his mouse. "Let's see what we can dig up. I'll let this program run for a while." As Ron's program processed, we continued our conversation. "So, here's the plan," the Colonel interjected. After discussing further, Ron agreed to remain with me until these individuals were neutralized. "I'm not comfortable with you being alone here while they're still out there," he expressed. "Ron, keep me posted as soon as you get any updates on them. All right, I'll take it from there." "Understood, Colonel," Ron replied. And what about you? I inquired of Bill. It's better if you're kept in the dark, son, he replied. Let's just say Marines handle our own business, and leave it at that. Don't worry. Henderson and his associates will face consequences one way or another. You mentioned you're off until Monday due to illness? Yes, I confirmed. What's your plan after this? He probed. I can't remain at Ryder after all this, I stated. I've decided to resign, giving 2 weeks' notice starting Monday. Additionally, I'm considering selling this house and downsizing. I can't blame you, he sympathized. Any update on when Katie's body will be released? It could be several days, according to what Hawthorne told me, I relayed. If you need assistance with final arrangements, don't hesitate to ask, he offered. Thank you, Dad. I appreciate it, I expressed. Bill rose, signaling the end of the meeting. Alice and Ron followed suit. We should head out, dear, Bill addressed Alice. Ron, keep me informed of any developments. Will do, Ron assured. Bill turned to me and embraced me, a gesture that took me by surprise. In all my years knowing him, I've never seen him hug another man. Everything will work out, son, he reassured me. Alice stepped forward after he released me and embraced me gently. I'm truly sorry for what happened, Tom, she comforted. Don't worry about a thing, all right? I won't, Mom, I assured her. Thank you for coming. You're welcome, she responded. And don't hesitate to reach out if you need anything. Shortly after their departure, my phone rang. Seeing it was Jim, I answered and sat down beside him to recount the events. At first, he was taken aback by this news. Dad, that just doesn't sound like something she could do, Jim remarked. I know. It doesn't make any sense to me either, I concurred. Are there any clues as to why she did this? He inquired. No, son, I checked her phone and email, but there's nothing there, I explained. Maybe she has a burner phone somewhere, he suggested. A burner phone? I questioned. Yeah, one of those disposable gadgets you toss away after using pay-as-you-go minutes, Jim clarified. Perhaps she has one hidden that you haven't found yet. My mind immediately shifted to the videos they sent me. They originated from a number I didn't recognize. Maybe it was her burner phone. If so, then no one could trace where she is now. You might be onto something, I acknowledged. I hadn't considered that. We conversed a bit more, and Jim concluded by asking me to inform him when his mother's body would be released for burial. After the call, I mentioned the burner phone theory to Ron. That makes sense, he agreed. If you have the number, I'll see what I can uncover. I provided him with the number, and he initiated another program to trace it. A few minutes later, he had his answer. This number corresponds to a phone purchased here in the city, he reported. As you suspected, it's a burner phone. The number is registered to Ryder and was last detected Tuesday morning in NYC. There hasn't been any activity on it since you received the last video. Any idea where he might be now? I inquired. None, he replied. As far as we know, it was disassembled and disposed of in the river. He returned to his computer, prompting me to prepare a guest room upstairs since I didn't know how long he'd stay. He remained until Saturday, spending much time on the computer. While unaware of his activities, we've grown closer since his arrival on Wednesday. He disclosed being a Marine sniper now working for a federal private task force. Despite his background as a CPA, most of his work involved research. He shared tidbits about his and his wife Amy's interactions with executives, which intrigued me. The previous night, he requested if Amy could join for the weekend, to which I agreed. She arrived Saturday morning, and after introductions, they retreated to the guest room. Giving them space, I occupied myself in the garage for about an hour before returning inside. Ron and Amy were engrossed in something on his computer when I joined. Any updates? I inquired. Yes, affirmed Ron. Firstly, the FBI has taken over the investigation. Secondly, about half an hour ago, I received a solid hit on our targets. All three? I queried. Yeah, they're near Colorado Springs, Ron confirmed. I've already notified the colonel. Then he'll handle it himself. There's something else. What is it? I inquired. I was able to access the official autopsy report on your wife, he disclosed. What does it say? I pressed. According to the report, your wife did indeed suffer a massive heart attack from the chemicals Henderson administered. But that's not what ended her life, Ron revealed. They discovered soil particles in her lungs. What does that mean? I asked. It means she was still alive when they buried her, Ron stated. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. Barely alive, but alive nonetheless. I'm sorry, there's more. More? I exclaimed in disbelief. There was also extensive bruising around her private parts, and a toxicology report revealed significant levels of various chemicals in her bloodstream, including ecstasy and cocaine. I'm sorry, Tom, but it appears the last hours of her life were brutal. I can't believe she willingly participated in all of this. What do you think happened? I questioned. From what I've gathered, Henderson and his cohorts likely had quite a wild party, he speculated. Your wife was so under the influence of what Henderson gave her that she lost control. At some point, she suffered a heart attack. Instead of seeking medical help, they likely presumed she was deceased, so they disposed of her by burying her. I sank into a chair, stunned by Ron's revelations. Amy approached and embraced me as tears streamed down my face. Henderson and his accomplices are wanted for slaying, conspiracy to commit slaying, the production and distribution of various controlled substances, and racketeering, among other charges, Ron disclosed. The other individuals in your videos have already been apprehended and charged, but Henderson is the primary target. What do you think his fate will be? I inquired. Ron shrugged. Who can say? He replied. One can only speculate about the workings of the courts these days. The next morning, I was awakened by my phone ringing. Glancing at my watch, I saw it was 4:30 a.m. I wondered who could be calling at such an hour. Answering, I heard a masked voice. Check your text messages, it instructed before hanging up. Opening the message, I found a video attached. In it, 3 undressed bound men were dumped in front of a brick building. Recognizing them as Henderson, Lenny, and Harvey, I watched as a sign was hung around Henderson's neck, confessing to Katie West's slaying. I pondered if the FBI would get involved. Finishing the video, I returned to sleep. 4 hours later, I descended to find Amy cooking breakfast in the kitchen. I hope you don't mind me trying my hand in your kitchen, she said. Ron gets cranky without his morning bacon. Not at all, I replied. I get a little cranky myself without bacon. Help yourself. After she finished, we all sat down to eat. As we finished, there was a knock at the door. Opening it, I found Ryan standing there. May I come in? He asked. Of course, I replied, ushering him in. Introducing him to Ron and Amy as friends of my father-in-law, I offered him coffee. No, I won't stay long, he declined. I just wanted to inform you that Henderson and 2 of his top accomplices were apprehended in Colorado Springs early this morning. That's good news, right? I inquired. Yes, he confirmed. They're talking. There are some questions about the circumstances of their capture, but I assume you're not privy to that. No, I'm not, I asserted. I've been here all night. Ron and Amy can vouch for that. Uh-huh, he responded. Well, I just wanted to keep you informed. Now I'll leave you to it. Take care of yourself. Thanks, Ryan, I expressed as he departed. Turning to Ron, I posed a question. You don't happen to know anything about this, do you? Don't ask, and I won't fib, he replied with a knowing grin. I still suggest giving your father-in-law a call to express gratitude. Nodding in agreement, I retrieved my phone. Anderson, Bill greeted upon answering. Dad, just wanted to inform you that the police paid me a visit, I relayed. Henderson and his cohort were apprehended in Colorado Springs. Well, that's a relief, he responded. Ron advised me to extend my thanks, I added. Did he indeed? Bill inquired. Yes, I confirmed. So I wanted to express my appreciation. You're welcome, son, he replied warmly. I heard you received a call last night. That's correct, I affirmed. That sign was quite the touch. Do you think it gave them a lead? His grin indicated agreement. I sure hope so, he said. We'll catch up soon, son. Take care of yourself. I will, Dad, I assured. Thank you. The next Monday, I resigned from work, receiving understanding but regretful farewells. Then, I visited a realtor to initiate the process of selling our longtime home, bracing myself for the emotional and logistical challenges. A week later, Katie's body was released by the New York Medical Examiner as her parents arranged her funeral. Despite conflicting emotions, I attended mainly to support Bill and Alice, who had been kind to me during this ordeal. Jim managed to take a break from West Point to join me at the funeral, where we shared memories and mourned together. I chose not to divulge Katie's actions to him, wanting to preserve his fond memories of her. Following the funeral, I consulted with a lawyer about potentially suing Ryder, as there seemed to be a strong case against Henderson and the board of directors given their legal troubles. The trial against Henderson and the involved board members felt endless. The U.S. attorney pursued the pass-away penalty for Henderson, while the defense filed numerous motions. I testified about my own experience and listened to others' testimonies. Brenda also testified, revealing that Katie wasn't the only sufferer of Henderson's medicating and exploitation. When questioned, Brenda admitted uncertainty about whether Katie and Henderson had an affair before the incident. Video evidence suggested Katie initially rejected Henderson's advances, but later seemed to consider them. Searches of Henderson's office and home uncovered evidence of Medicaid experimentation. Expert witnesses confirmed that many of the compounds he created were likely intended as date abduction medicates. During the trial, I finally got the full story of what happened to Katie. It turned out that Henderson had kept her alive over the weekend with medicates and drinks. At some point during their festivities, she experienced severe chest pain and collapsed unconscious. The men claimed they checked her but couldn't find a pulse. Instead of seeking immediate medical help, which was nearby, they assumed she was dead. After cleaning her up a bit, they placed her in a car trunk and buried her in Central Park. Under questioning by the U.S. attorney, none of them admitted to having CPR training or medical qualifications. Their fate was sealed when a medical examiner found soil in her lungs matching that of the burial site, indicating she was buried alive. Some jury members visibly reacted to this revelation. At the trial's conclusion, Jake, his two accomplices, and everyone involved in the weekend were found guilty on all charges. The judge opted against the pass-away penalty, sentencing Jake to life in prison, along with Lenny and Harvey. Others received slightly lighter prison terms. Civil lawsuits against Ryder and Henderson followed the criminal trial. The company lost most of its customers and went into receivership. Henderson, after paying a substantial sum, filed for bankruptcy. The fallout from Henderson's scheme to betray me was far-reaching. Katie was dead, and he and his cohorts were bankrupt and imprisoned. The company vanished, leaving hundreds unemployed. As for me, life moved forward. I sold the house and bought a 2-bedroom apartment. Closing the door on the house for the last time was bittersweet. However, I had my whole life ahead of me. My advisor suggested taking some time off, maybe a cruise to meet someone new. So I booked a round-the-world cruise and headed to the airport, excited for the adventures that lay ahead.